Yay, clap. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Same Shit, Different Day. I'm Bailey. This is...
Raza Malik.
and we have Raza Malik, and he can never say his own name right. And we got Wine Mom here to help keep things under control, a little bit more stabilized, because we can't seem to hold a conversation. And Raza likes to interrupt with non-tangential statements. So...
He's bullying me for no apparent reason.
Yeah, this week we wanted to talk about something I've really never given a fuck about, but the news will eternally care about. You ready for this? We're gonna talk about the monarchy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just super exciting. They let the artists be themselves.
I mean, okay, so let me just address something then people might find exciting, because this is like this was one of the first things I thought about when I was watching the interview. So I'm sure everybody knows about Jeffrey Epstein and all of that stuff, and Harvey Weinstein and all the Me Too stuff. So I know you know exactly what I'm going to point out.
Jesus Christ.
That's Andrew, right?
So I don't know if you watched the interview. I know, Bailey, I think you missed it. Roz, I think you watched it. But did anybody happen to look at Oprah's ankle?
No.
At all?
No.
Oh, so nobody saw her giant, like, wrist anklet thing? Or her, what's it called? Her
ankle monitor?
Yes, ankle monitor. Nobody noticed that through her boot?
She had an ankle monitor?
One second. Okay,
yes, so you know that Ellen and Oprah, the conspiracy is, I'm using air quotes, and I'm sure, like, it's not, it's the truth is the truth. Both of them are on house arrest right now with their connections to, yeah. You can literally see it through Oprah's boot. I know. But you know, I figured, because I have it written down in the notes that I took when I watched, and I noticed it like almost immediately. I'm like, what the fuck is in her boot? Like, why does her ankle look like that? And then I was like, oh. So I was like, you know what? Let me put that in my notes, because people are going to think about that. Let me just like address it right away and be like, yeah, I saw the ankle bracelet.
That's absurd. Okay, so...
I should have warned you, Bailey. I think you're shocked.
No,
I'm shocked too. I'm looking
because then Prince Philip or whatever. Let's keep it in the royals talk.
Prince Harry?
Harry, which was the one indicted in this shit as well. It's Philip,
yeah, that's no, it's not Philip. What's it? Maybe it is Philip. Andrew, Prince Andrew. Yes, for the pedophilia. Yes.
Related to the same case, I thought.
Yes.
So
is
he on house arrest?
No. The royals talked their way out of that, and they used Meghan to hide that negative press.
So I'm looking at a picture. It doesn't. Okay, I'm gonna put some reality here. Okay.
All right.
Raza, if you tell me that doesn't look like an ankle bracelet, we're gonna fight. It straight up does.
Okay, so this looks like a freaking, like, you know when you're sitting in a certain position and the leather buckles up and it folds into itself. It looks clearly like
Raza. I love you, but that's a square.
No, Raza, that
a
could
square.
Be photoshopped. I would believe if someone told me it was photoshopped, Raza.
I watched the video.
But the way this looks, it looks very sus. But I would believe
it looks
Photoshop.
Like oh my god, no, that's not an ankle bracelet. It's QAnon stuff. Oh my god.
Raza's upset. I should have mentioned it before the show, because then you guys could have had a chance to look into it. But why not have the shock value? Why not?
I love how Oprah tweets out, like, by the way, it's not an ankle bracelet, but I don't know. Who's to say?
Yeah.
I hate the internet. We're in time we live in. I wish it was simpler.
What if Oprah's just packing? She's just ready.
She has or she could have very large ankles. Just ever thought about
Raza?
That are square?
Come on.
When have you ever seen a boot fold like that?
Okay. The thing is, I literally I watched the interview entirely. I sit through all the stupid commercials. I watched the entire thing. Sorry, I just bumped my mic. I watched the entire thing all the way through, and I specifically watched her ankle and like the way that she moved it, and you could see like that bump did not move like natural boot leather. Like, Not to mention that she was making numerous remarks about not being at her home and being far down, like in a midway house of a neighbor. Like she was really trying to push that she wasn't on, like she was making comments about it. Not to mention that the people who, okay, first of all, it's a hot climate where they're doing the interview. So whoever styled her purposely chose a long leather boot that you could justify looking loose, and a floor-length skirt, which Oprah was stupid enough to pull up over her knee so everybody could see her chunky boot. Oprah.
But Oprah's never like shown her, like Oprah's never been a legs when it comes to her attire.
What are you trying to say,
It's been some sort of legging or dress. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like even back in the day, my mom used to watch Oprah religiously. I watched
So
way
did
too much
mine.
Oprah as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Oprah always wore some sort of pantyhose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, just I'm not
So, like,
gonna
maybe it's part of
argue
her-
it.
She is becoming like an older human, so like maybe part of her attire now is just long boots. You know, that's like typical for
Yeah,
a
okay,
boomer
sure.
attire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's. Okay. You know what? What we can say is that this is unconclusive. We don't know. We don't know, but we still don't know if it's an.
Okay.
Okay, so-
I'm gonna later. I'm gonna find the articles and send it to you, Raza, so we can fight about it in the DMs.
All right, but then I will look at the sources you're sending me. Be like,
Mhm.
this is some conspiracy.
Oh, that's fine. I'm not afraid of you, Raza. Don't worry.
I'm afraid of everything.
So I blew it at the beginning, but I do like what's the most like? Do we call them the royals? Do we call them the monarchy? What are they called now? Because before it'd be
The
like
institution?
the Queen and fam. The
Institution, yeah.
Institution, yeah.
Firm is what she was referring to them because it is a business.
Mhm.
That day. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
can be called a firm.
Their schedule is so strict.
Mhm.
Right, yeah. It's weird how, I know Spain has a monarchy, Nepal has a monarchy, like there's several other countries that have monarchies, but those countries, the monarchy has like little to no influence on the country's impact and whatnot. Meanwhile,
Mhm.
hard on, we're like, oh, we have, I can't do the English accent, but they're like, oh, we have royalty, and we're better than you. It's how us brown people look at it. This is it's nostalgic for the British people. It's like,
Mhm.
you know, where they came from, what great achievements they did on the backs of my people and other people.
Well, it's a tradition that should be done already. Like, there's no reason for that. Like, the whole royal versus Commonwealth thing, like, why are we still, it's 2020, why are we still doing that? Well, 2021, sorry. Why are we still doing that?
How, I want, like, what will separate Great Britain from the rest of the world? Why are they not allowed a monarchy and other countries are allowed a monarchy and stuff?
Yeah.
I
I don't
mean,
know,
we have
smash
the
it all.
queen on our money, right? Like, it's just all very, to me, I don't get it. I never really cared that much about it. My grandmother, obviously her generation, really cares a lot about the royal family.
Mhm.
And especially with the show The Crown, apparently everybody's become a royal, like 100% knowledgeable on the royals now from watching that
Yeah.
show, which, like, I don't get it, but okay.
Downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and I thought Downton Abbey did have a little bit of that in it. I never did actually watch it.
It talks about like how it's actually talking about how the monarchy loses is like it's them losing power, and now the government is taking over, and all of the land, like the land that the elites had, they had to sell it off.
Yeah.
They're just old money and the government is running everything. They're just old money. That's literally all that it is.
Essentially.
Oligarchs. The House of Lords.
Yeah.
They're oligarchs. It's the same issue that Russia's having in all of those former communist states.
But
Yeah.
Russia's better in every single
So
way.
if Lily watched it directly,
Mm.
I obviously read all this stuff, but the part
Mhm.
that I kept missing
Mhm.
What was the exact quote? I guess not exact. I don't expect you
I
to
won't
it
have the
down.
exact quote. Yeah, I have
But
stuff
what
written
was,
down. But
what was the quote that Meghan said that the Queen said about their kid? Like, what was the actual
okay,
quote?
so
Like-
it wasn't directed. It was not. She didn't say who it was. What she said was, there were discussions with my husband in regards to how dark Archie's skin was going to be when he was born.
Oof.
Yes.
And so so a lot of people online are speculating. So this is my hot take. I do not believe that it was the Queen. I genuinely do not believe it was. Everyone thinks that it's William. That's the hot take that everybody has right now.
So my hot take on that, I think it's Charles, because after that interview, he was seen taking pictures with black healthcare workers. Everybody
You couldn't be. Yeah, you could be right.
who was saying that, somebody posted that picture and was just like, well, we guess we know who Meghan was talking about. So if the first action is that, but on top of what Wine Mom was saying, the conversations were about Archie's skin color. If it's too black, it's not good. Therefore, he doesn't receive a title. So that's speculation of what was.
Well,
art like.
I don't think the skin tone mattered. I think they had already decided that it was going to be the way that it was going to be.
Yeah, no, like to who the HR people, or to to the employees of they actually have like employees who work in the monarchy who were saying this stuff like no title because of the skin tone. It may have been, but is Archie like, have
you seen pictures of him?
I believe Archie's like not black, so
he literally looks exactly like Harry, except he has Meghan's nose.
Okay, I should.
Yeah. Because I wanted to look up pictures afterwards, because I don't really care about celebrity children and stuff like that. Like, I don't look into that stuff. I think the whole like genre of taking celebrities' children and using them as like profile pictures and stuff like that is so fucking creepy to me. I don't get it.
I agree.
I choose not to look at their children. Like, if they do a promotional magazine cover or something, then maybe I'll have a look. But no, I was curious just because the conversation was around his skin tone. No, he literally looks exactly like Harry, except he has Meghan's nose. That's it.
I saw a meme where it's just like how we see Prince Archie, and it's like a normal kid, like a normal like an average kid, and then how the royal see Prince Archie, it's like the black kid. It's just like it goes to show how like old school and how I believe, because this family low-key believes in eugenics, so that they want to have
they have so much fear. They have so much fear when it comes to skin tone, that literally a woman who's half black, or I think she's I don't know how mixed Meghan is, but she's not full black. Yeah, she's very white. Like, they're that worried.
Like, I definitely support what both of y'all are saying. The thing is, like, I wanted to chuckle because Raza's saying, like, you'll believe that they believe in eugenics, but you won't hear that Oprah will wear an ankle monitor. Like, because believing in eugenics is like
history, though. Look at the Queen's, like, that entire history and shit, right? This is the first colored person to be in the royal.
Raza.
I agree, but eugenics is a hard word to use. This is what the people who love the royals, this is what they end up using as like their thing, is that it's like, oh, it's about purity of the royal bloodline, not the Caucasianness of it, but the royal bloodline. So
but
it's not necessarily eugenics, according to the people who would defend it.
Okay, let one more go. Sorry.
My whole thing is that, like, there's no way that bloodline is clean. I'm sorry.
100%. Yeah.
It's not clean. The whole argument about like trying to keep it like a clean bloodline, or even if you want to, so like, let's say forget the clean bloodline. Even if you want to say they tried to keep the bloodline white, it's impossible, because it's no secret that when slavery was a thing, that they were having children with colored people. Like, that's what they were doing. So it's like, do not tell me that you're trying to keep your bloodline pure, because you weren't. That was never a goal. It's just like whatever fits your narrative right now, whatever looks good right now, because they're an all-powerful white family. And so now, that's what they've stayed as. And they've never had to, the thing with the royal family is they've actually never really had to address race issues in this way ever, because it was never an issue, because it was always British people marrying British people.
No,
and like
never.
the stereotypical British person is a white person.
No, they were always like going in it. Like, I agree with you, but you are missing the key part that like all the monarchies in Europe are just like incestuous. So it's not.
Well, yes, no, I know that. I just didn't want to say
that. Yeah, but
We're-
I mean, in the sense that it's not like historically, it's like they're related to the monarchy of Spain, who's related to the monarchy of France, who's related to the monarchy of this, because it's the cousin and the cousin and the cousin and the cousin. So
all the worlds
I
are
fully agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying it's not just like just British people. It's like all of the rich people across Europe they're related to.
No, I just didn't want to say incest, because that whole concept creeps me out, and I'd rather just derail it completely. And I hear you. I agree with you. I just don't want to be. I don't want to be the one that's like, so they're all incest, because like we all know this. Like, it's pretty obvious. Look at them. Sorry.
in olden, like when the royalties were important, like way back in time, like they would they would trade their daughters as war commodities. And stuff, so that's why Russian monarchy, the Spanish monarchy, and stuff like that are all, and the British one are all connected and stuff. So it isn't pure. It's like pure royal bloodline. Like they're all from the same sort of family.
Like,
weird.
Elizabeth the First was like half
a cousin of
like from France or something. Her dad was French or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all like one weird.
Probably getting it fully wrong and gonna get hate for saying French, but
I mean, like, as far as the full dynamics of the royal family, I don't know the full dynamics. However, when I was watching this interview, there were certain things that I went and looked at afterwards, and like just to try and get some sort of parallels into what's happening currently versus what happened then. And I think that, so as much as I believe that Meghan and Harry went through something extremely tumultuous and that they had a very hard time and they struggled, I do believe that. However, you see a lot of parallels and similarities in what Harry's mother went through, which is Diana. And you can see a lot of the repeated language and like the framing of the conversation being repeated from what his mother went through. And so I don't want to, I mean, I've had some of my friends and some people that I know say that they think that Meghan's she's just putting on a good act and she's acting and it's all fake and all these other things. And not only that, like all the body language analysis that's on, like literally the very next day, everybody on YouTube was doing a body analysis. And it's like, okay, like everybody's bodies react differently to things. And like, I guess there's like tell-alls, but to me, it just seems like very much an attack on Meghan. But at the same time, I can't discredit everybody because I see the parallels that people are complaining about. Like, have either of you watched Diana's interview?
Yes.
No.
Raza, you need
see
to
what
watch
you're
it.
saying. That's the part of the conspiracy stuff I do believe in.
Yeah.
Because I think to tie in both of y'all points,
Mm-hmm.
they're employees. The royals now are essentially just a giant PR firm. They make money off of public appearances and generating media opportunities, right? So to tie that in, like part of what they were doing to Diana is like completely justified to see them repeating the same patterns because it's an organization that has tactics that they employ to get what they want. So since they're not going to be as savvy to this digital era, they're going to be applying the same old bullshit. And as you see, you're right. They're using the exact same language they use with Princess Di. They're using on her. And that's the creepy, dark part of it. That's
but I think it's very...
They're shunning. Sorry, go.
Right. No, I just want to make a point that I think it's very important to look at the difference of Meghan as a woman versus Diana as a woman, because everybody needs to remember when Diana was roped into that royal family, she was 16 years old.
Yeah.
Her and I don't remember his name because honestly I didn't really care. When they got together, he saw her at like some family or friend event, and she was 16 years old, and they were engaged by the time she was 18 or 19. So it's like, think of yourself at 16 years old and you're roped into this royal craziness. Not to mention she comes from a family of divorce, which is automatically something that they are going to like berate her for and look down on her for. So she's already at a disadvantage. And here she is thrown into like a marriage, a royal marriage. She's got these 2 boys. She's trying to grow. Her husband's cheating on her with a disgusting woman, as well as him being disgusting. And that whole thing is going on. And she's trying to like, she was so young and she was trying to be an adult and like she wasn't equipped to be an adult in that situation. And so Meghan is much older than when Diana went through what she went through. And what they did to Diana, it was disgusting. They put all of her personal business, like if you haven't watched the interview with Diana, she suffered from postpartum, regular depression, bulimia, and some other forms of self-harm. She really, really went through it, and nobody was there to help her. And so that's why, for me, it's so devastating to see this, because Harry is literally watching the history repeat itself, regardless of whether he believes Meghan's telling the truth or not. He's watching these parallels happen, and he lost his mother because he wasn't able to be there and support her and care for her. And so he's really trying to do like the very best thing that he can right now. It's messed up.
Something that I think's neglected, that like the news and we all missed, is like he's going through it twice. I feel really bad for him. Like, this guy's going through it twice.
And he's so much his mother's son too.
That's what I was
so much. Yeah.
He's and then like he's and then the reason why he moved here was to not have that all over again and stuff. And like he basically takes up after his mom, like all the Commonwealth James stuff. He does that. Everything that his mom started with the AIDS Foundation, he still does that. So he carries on a lot of his mother's work, and it's good. Like it's good that he picked up those values, and it's him and his wife that is breaking up the royal family. But what Bayley said about media is interesting, because Harry also said that like the royals have a invisible contract between them and I don't know what that was, but them and the media. So like if the royals treat them well, the press does good for them in a tabloid. So that's why they threw Meghan under the bus. That's not the main reason, but there's like one of the main reasons was because just to have themselves look good and stuff, because the British people like it when their whole institutions are still put together rather than somebody military.
See, when I heard that, I felt zero shock. I was not surprised at all. I was like, absolutely makes 100% sense. And the reason why it makes sense to me is like, obviously the British media would go after Meghan. And this is a thing that I think people don't think about, because Meghan was an actress first. She was a celebrity. And she even said this in an interview. She was like, I didn't think of the royal family as like a royal, like she's like, I just thought of them as celebrities. Like, I'm a celebrity. They're celebrities. We're celebrities. Like, she just figured that's how they all rope in together. Now, do I 100% believe that she felt that way? No, she would have known better. That's another detail to get into. But the point is that she was a celebrity first. And so already she doesn't have a good relationship with media, because celebrities don't want to be photographed all the time. They don't want to be bothered. They don't give a fuck about media's opinions and the tabloids and their smut magazines and all that shit. That's already the way that she thinks. And then she's roped into a family where they're whining and dining and paying these people to put good stories about them in the news.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't think she entertained that shit at all. I think she was like, fuck no. I'm not paying them or whining and dining and curtsying and treating them like royals for them just to say something nice about me in the press. Forget it.
Like the biggest example of that is what happened to what's his face, Pierce Morgan. Like he's sort of lost it because the rumor is that she cut him off, like socially.
Mm-hmm.
That was go.
Is that
go?
What? No.
I actually read. That was one of the only things I did read. Pierce Morgan was just trying to get a headline because he's
just a baby bitch.
Yeah, he had like a dinner arrangement with her just before dating, like just before she met Harry or whatever, and so he took it. It was clearly this man was just trying to get headlines because he took it as a date, and she definitely did not. So, he was just really salty because apparently they went for dinner, and then that night she went to a party, and when she went to that party, it was that party that she met Harry at. And after that,
but that's not.
He was ghosted.
Yeah, that's not how they met.
Like, no.
That's the thing. They met doing the same charity work because Meghan's been doing the same charity work since before she met Harry.
So it sounds like you forced her into going to dinner with you, and you had the right intentions.
Yeah.
Oh, come to dinner with me because I'm gonna do a story on you about whatever bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. So it just because because I did take these notes, and you bringing up the thing about media. In the article, there's two things that she talks about that I think are very important because I've heard both of these things said to me about her, like about Meghan specifically. And I remember thinking, like, are you that fucking daft that you're going to say that to me? Like, are you okay? Like, what are you even talking about? So there was two articles. So when Kate was pregnant, and I remember reading this headline because I saw it like on Twitter or something. When she was pregnant, she was eating avocados every day, and it was like healthy fats for the baby, and it was super important that she did that. Like all great, beautiful, wonderful white girl eating avocado toast. Great, right? But then when Meghan was doing it, there was all these headlines, which I don't even know if any of them even ate fucking avocados. Were you with them their entire pregnancy to see them eat fucking avocados? Like, what are you talking about? But anyway, so they said when Meghan was doing it, she was supporting mass deforestation, and that goes against her core values and her causes. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's fucking avocado. Like, what?
That's so funny. Yeah, it's like I love how people make that reach
that parallel. So that was one, right? That was one, and that one was like that one I felt was like very white girl stupid. Like, come on, like, are you that petty? Like, are you in high school still? Okay. And then the second one, so there's a lot of pictures.
Raza sips frappuccino at
right? Raza's little white girl high school. No, so then there was a second there was another article. So when Kate was pregnant, there was lots of pictures of her holding her baby bump, and everybody was like, oh, doting mother, so wonderful, she's holding her stomach with pride, blah 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 blah. And then when Meghan was holding her stomach, oh, look at her doing this for vain, it's all in vanity, she's just trying to show her stomach off, and she's so weird, why is she holding her stomach all the time? And it's like, first of all, let me just make something very clear. I've been around quite a few pregnant women. All they do is hold their fucking stomachs because it weighs a lot and it's fucking uncomfortable. And they also want to make sure that it's still fucking there, okay? Because this is a weird thing on their body that they're not used to. Right. But it's like, why is it that Kate is seen as like a lovely doting mother, but Meghan, who's, might I add, like a shade darker than Kate, suddenly she's just this weird like vanity insanity like character, and it's like what are you? And I remember someone saying to me, oh, she's just doing this for attention, and she's so vain, and all she does is hold her stomach. And I remember thinking when that person said it to me, I was like, are you okay? Like, are you genuinely okay? Like, are you sick in the head? Like, really, she's holding her stomach. I was like, what are you talking about?
just go in a corner and wear a dunce hat.
But not only that, but there was like Meghan did make reference, and she's not the only woman to experience this either, but she made reference to miscarriage. So when that happens to a woman, your whole body, everything about you changes. To be able to have a pregnancy, that means the world to some of these women. I have a friend who tried to have babies for a very long time. She's now later in her life and she's having her first baby. And to experience a pregnancy after so much loss and struggle. Now, I don't know Meghan's story 100%, right? I don't know what she went through. Even after that interview, I didn't live her life parallel to her. I don't know what she went through. But to be berated in the media because you're holding your baby bump, when people don't know your miscarriage history or your birth history or any kind of stuff regarding pregnancy, that is so damaging to a woman. And to have to live through that in front of everybody watching her and then being told she's vain because she cares about her pregnancy and because she's eating avocado, she's supporting deforestation. Like, the biggest thing is like she's literally building a life in her body and everyone's harassing her on social media. Get over it.
It's just like British media and like news is very like old school and like very like, let's just say the word racist kind of, because it's like black and white to them. So like I was reading a headline like yesterday saying after this interview, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's popularity has plummeted in Great Britain. And like that kind of it makes sense because the British look at the monarchy as an icon. Like it's like a big deal. Anybody who talks bad about them is gonna face the wrath of the British. And if you're colored, double that.
Yeah.
By 20. It's like that old colonialism mind.
Yes.
Like, why are these people being brought into the royal house? Our thing.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, that's why I'm expressing these two parallels to you guys in regardless to what Kate went through and to what Meghan went through. And it's not because, so like, to make it clear, I don't know how I feel about Meghan as a person. I don't know her. That interview was a very small glimpse in things. I didn't live in the royal family. I don't know all the protocols and how everything went down, right? But I can say, as a woman, just in general, living your life, to watch your sister-in-law be praised for birthing children and then have yourself ridiculed in the media. Like, you can't explain away that unfairness or that pain or that suffering that she had went through, regardless of whether you think she's a great actor or not. It's just the reality that, like, don't do this to women anymore. Stop doing this to us. Leave us the fuck alone in social media when it's not necessary. Stop.
100%. I agree. And it's just like, again, this raises the bigger question: what's their need? What's the need for the loyalty now? It's just like, why do we need a freaking, in Canada, the biggest one? Why do we need a governor general? I believe there's some sort of movement now to get rid of that. But why do we need somebody of that? Like, why do we need these things and stuff? It's also like this. It's just this old school mentality, like our parents like it and stuff. I don't know my parents, but I believe.
Well, and they just made it so catty too, because the things that they would say, like, "Oh, Meghan made Kate cry about bridesmaid dresses." It's like,
it's true, by the way.
Right. So Meghan even came out and said, she was like, that's not true. And like, she defended Kate and said, you know, like, she's not a bad person. She genuinely is a good person. She apologized. She brought me flowers. We worked it out. It's fine. We got past it. But the whole point is, like, what people don't understand. So think about it in your own life, right? Like, if I said something to Raza negatively about Bailey, because I've interjected myself and I've created a third party in this argument, whatever, me and Bailey are arguing about something, and I bring Raza in and I tell Raza my side of the story, and then Raza's like, oh, and then he hears Bailey's side of the story and he's like, I've already talked to Lily, you're wrong, Bailey. It's like, now I've created a third party argument, and that argument that me and Bailey are having has now been amplified because people are watching. And people are listening, and people are like, Raza's watching us argue. He's waiting for the result. He wants to know the real truth. Like, he's going to ask me questions. He's going to ask Bailey questions. Like, it's just, you're creating a dynamic that's unnecessary. Yeah, and especially with two royal female icons, like, fuck off. Like, why did you have to do that? It's two brothers with their two wives, and you're just creating an animosity that wasn't already there.
Yeah, and I just think that, like, it's, they, like, how can I put it? Like, people are, especially in Britain, people are just so, like, conservative with that thinking that they need to be involved with the royals' lives. Like, why is this happening? Like, whenever what's his face goes for a drive and he runs over somebody, whenever he does something, the royals or the British people want to know, like, if he's, like, okay and shit. But he's dead now. But
think about how many celebrity dramas have happened purely because of social media or an article written about them.
Yeah, and also British tabloids
are vicious.
Like, I was reading one. It's like yellow. It's a borderline yellow journalism, which if you're unfamiliar with, yellow journalism, I think is like the. I guess I'm blanking on it too.
So yellow journalism is from the 1920s when they first developed newspapers. They had no way to guarantee that anyone would have facts. You could just write whatever the fuck you wanted in a newspaper. So now, just like those days, we are in the same period because you can write whatever the fuck you want on the internet. But so the part that my mind, like, keeping up with this debate, it's like philosophical and also for Bebe. How much of this is on them for being in the public eye all the time, and how much of this is on the media? Because they're kind of like, as I feel bad for specifically like Harry and Meghan, because they willingly pulled out of the royal family and the spotlight. But when we're talking about all this and the criticism and the tabloids and how bad the British this and this is, like, isn't this what they're signed up for? Like, how much is this, like, on the media and how much is this on them?
Look at the look at the differences of how the media treats these two people. Like for example, like Kate Middleton. Like look how the media treats Kate Middleton. Like, easygoing. Like, they don't pry too much. Like I know for a fact that, like, the British journalism is very easygoing on Kate Middleton because she abides by their rule or whatever. However, Meghan Markle, different story. They are attacking her just because I feel like it has to do with she's American. Big one is because she's American, and C is because she's like mixed. So I feel like it's sort of like a stark difference just based on those two factors.
Right. And so to answer your question, in my opinion, Harry addressed that specifically in the interview, and he said, he was like, I was born into this family. I didn't choose to be in this family. So why does that mean that he should be subject to all of that abuse? Like, he didn't choose to be born into the royal family. And with all due respect, like, yes, he lived a privileged life, but he didn't have a choice as to what his engagements were.
Yeah.
He has to do what the royal family needs him to do. That's his family, that's his lifeline, his money, that's his life. He doesn't have a choice. So it's like, to think that to be born into a celebrity family, that automatically means that you're subject to abuse.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense, right?
100%.
Which is why which is why specifically Meghan and Harry have made the choice to leave. Because they're like, it's not worth it anymore. And also, just to touch on what Raza said about them, or I think it was maybe one of you guys said something about them leaving. They didn't actually step down full time. They said, we want to go to part time. And this discussion went on for 2 years before the final decision was made. The Queen knew every single thing that was going on. Her and Harry have a very close relationship. You can see it by the pictures of them together. He spends a lot of time with her when he was in the royal family. He was always at the same engagements as her. He spent a lot of time with her. That is his best friend. She raised them from children. Now, of course, I don't know 100% because I'm not in the family. That's I want to make that clear. But you can see based on the way that he talks about her, his grandmother was not blindsided. As somebody who has a very, very close relationship with her grandmother, if I was in his position and I had the same relationship like they do, my grandmother would know everything that I'm doing before I do it.
So, wait, so are you saying the Queen...
She knows.
She knows? Okay. All right.
She knows. She
All right.
knows. She was not blindsided. The thing is that what I don't think people understand about the Queen either, and like, you know, I talk about this stuff a lot with my grandmother because this is something that she cares about. I don't, like, traditionally, I don't care about the royal family. I keep out of it. It's too much stress for me because I don't like to see the stark dynamics and how things, like how each person's treated differently based on stature. I don't like that stuff. Stresses me out, right? So I avoid it. But what I think a lot of people forget as well is that the Queen was also thrown into her role very young because her father died. Like,
Well, I don't
she didn't have a
think people-
choice.
Because that's what that show's all about. When you're saying the
Right.
royals, that's literally what it's about. So I don't know if
Right.
people neglect that so much anymore. That's the only part
Well,
I
so
wanted to
here-
cut you off. Keep going.
Right. So here's the argument that I've had quite a few times, and it's not just. I think I've talked about this before in a previous episode with you guys. But there's this whole idea that, like, this is what she's known, this is how she's grown up, this is what she was taught, her politics are old, like, it is what it is, she's an old woman. And it's like, okay, she was also very young when she was thrown into politics, so a lot of the things have been pushed on her. Yes, I can understand that. A lot of the choices that she's had to make, she didn't really have any choice but to make the choices that were given to her, right? But at what point do you, as an adult woman, do you say, okay, these politics are garbage, I want to advance, I want to get better, I want to create an example, I want to change things? So it's like, as much as I understand the Queen's position, she also has a right to her people to show them that she's progressive and that she cares and that she's making changes, especially when you are responsible for raising 2 young men who are supposed to eventually take over. It's you have to start being progressive at some point. And I think with Meghan coming in the family, that was their opportunity and they dropped the ball. And so the Queen is trying to do the best thing she can by allowing them to leave. But there was mistakes that were made. She couldn't have.
Like, I feel like I'm half on board. I get what you're saying, that, like, grandma's gotta know and all that. But I am, like, kind of confused that, like, I don't think they would have bumbled it like this at all if they were as savvy as you're saying. I don't deny that it's a possibility.
I
don't think they would have come out with, like, a whole thing.
Right, but we're not in the family, right? So you can't assume to know. This is just purely hypothetical. Sorry, go ahead, Raza.
I just want to know, when Kate Middleton and William, right? Do we know how their origin story, like how they met? Is it through, like, love, or is it through, like?
They met at a nightclub.
So it was natural, I assume, right?
Yes, and also everyone forgets that Kate was extremely ridiculed in the very beginning because they thought that she was like some little whore because they met each other at a nightclub and that she was encouraging him to be a drunk and be an idiot. Yeah. And then all of a sudden she got this arc story of being this wonderful, great white woman that everybody looks up to all of a sudden. Confusing. I don't get it. How did that happen?
And then, like, because I'm thinking, because if Harry and Meghan, their origin story is them falling in love. like, I feel like all these marriages in the royal household are sort of like placed there, for like ornamental things. Like all these marriages don't really mean anything. Like
Right.
they've been constructed. So I for some reason thought maybe because Harry and Meghan actually had an organic connection, it went against their narrative and their rules and the storyline. I assume that.
So here's the thing, right? There's a lot of gossip around. There's so much gossip around the royal family. Like, good fucking luck figuring out what is actually true, right? And so I've heard many years ago there was an interview with one of Kate's friends, somebody who was like a close friend of Kate's. I don't have all the details. I don't have the original interview. Sorry, can't help you there. But I do remember watching this, and I remember talking to my grandmother about it because it was like on the news that apparently Kate was so obsessed with William that she had pictures of him in her bedroom, and she would try to go to the same clubs as him because she wanted to meet him because she was so in love with him. Okay, that was like a cute little origin story about them, right? So now let's fast forward to where we are currently. And I was watching a video of people debunking and pointing out the falseness in Meghan's statements and Harry's statements. And an argument that they brought up specifically, which actually made me like audibly laugh out loud. And I was like, I'm not watching the rest of this fucking video. Like, this is garbage. But they brought up that one of Meghan's friends said that Meghan was obsessed with the royal family. She followed all of Diana's stuff. She was obsessed with Diana. She watched all of Diana's interviews, read her book, watched the documentaries. She was obsessed. And then she sought out Harry. So why is it that Meghan is deemed as a crazy person for, enjoying the royal family and I guess, quote unquote, seeking out Harry? But when Kate, as a teenager, has pictures of William in her bedroom and then eventually she marries him, that's so cute, right? That's so adorable. Like, how cute is that?
Quite interesting that you brought up that stark. That's quite interesting that you brought up that stark.
But this is the thing that people don't see. Like, yes, I understand how people feel about Meghan. She, as I don't like to say it, she's not a likable person. And I get that. I get how people feel that about her. But you can't objectively look at the situation without objectively looking at the situation. You can't go, oh, okay, I see all these things. I just don't find Meghan likable, so I'm just going to think negative things about her. Well, look at the parallels.
This is another fact of like this weird celebrity drama that's just like fucking confusing my brain.
Exactly.
Why is Meghan not a likable person? What am I missing here? Is there like a bunch of terrible shit this human's done? Like,
there's a lot of reports, like Hollywood reports, of her being difficult to work with, being mean on set, being demanding. But I mean, they've said the same thing about Jack Nicholson. They've said the same thing about Johnny Depp. They've said it about Meghan. They've said it about.
At that point, we're back at your prodding into celebrity lifestyles,
right?
Right, like it's
exactly.
Pick these celebrity lives to a point that they're all gonna be problematic
constantly.
I have a friend.
Beyonce is horrible. She's a tornado. Jay-Z is a nightmare. It's like, okay, but do you know these people? Do you intimately know these people? Do you really, like, were they having a bad day? Did you think about that? Sorry to cut you off, Raza, but these are things that really bother me when it comes to the big political thing that is actually going on here. Because we're not actually talking about what is actually going on.
I'll let Raza go, and then I got an idea.
Okay. My friend, he works as a gaffer on shows and stuff in Toronto, and when he was working on Suits, building the setup for Suits, this was before everybody knew Meghan and Harry were dating. So how he knew is that one day he came into work, there was a bunch of security. Like a crazy amount of security there, and he told me he asked his boss, he was like, "The hell's going on? Are we is something happen?" And his boss said, "Oh, it's just the prince and his girlfriend in the other room." And he's just like, what? And then the next day, somebody leaked that they were together out in Toronto and stuff, and my friend almost lost his job because everybody thought it was him.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's whack. That's a good personal story. Holy shit. But I do, goddamn, I don't want to discredit that. That would be really wild, just walking on set and all of a sudden you've got like government level fucking security.
Like
royal level security.
Like, yeah, like from Britain, not like the
Yeah.
Canadian stuff, but like their security. Well, their hands.
When it comes to celebrity prodding is like the thing, I want to bring it back to our pal Ellen though, right? Like you make a point that we are focused on the wrong thing, but I think at the same time, if we don't listen to these concerns, sometimes you end up then and Ellen just gets to go ham, and then all of a sudden
what she wants. Yeah.
Okay, so
exactly.
Here's the thing to that. While yes, I agree, it's very important that that stuff needs to be addressed. But why did we wait until she was in the royal family? Why did we wait until her and Harry were getting married and having their first child to then start saying she was a hurricane?
Judge them. We shouldn't put it on their lifestyles.
Okay, but we've done it to millions of celebrities all throughout the years. You have no problem calling them out. This is the thing. Like I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I think she was a great angel sweetheart. Like everybody has. I've been a bitch to someone just to be a bitch because I've had a bad day. Like I get it. Those things are true stories. Sometimes people go through that, but it's all about like why are you gonna wait? Why is it like, oh, now it's convenient to come out and say something because she's a part of the royal family? And it's like people like to make these, and people like to make these parallels. And it's like, okay, that's fine. If you want to push your narrative now that it's however many years later and she's you know, having a little bit of success right now and she's getting married and having children, now we want to talk about it.
100%.
Like bring it up before. And do you know how many nobody, like quote unquote nobody celebrities have been talked shit about? You know, the Twilight Saga, whatever her name is, Kristen, whatever, I don't know what her name is. You know how many people talk shit about her and she's like a nobody? She's not a nobody. I understand.
She's not a nobody. She became the biggest franchise ever.
Okay. I don't care about that franchise at all. Anyway, but my point is that everybody talks shit about her when she was considered a nobody at that time, and they're like, oh, she's horrible to work with, she's miserable, all these things about her. So like why do you pick and choose what celebrities you want to have stories about? It's just like it's all about convenient timing. And so that's why I'm not going to discredit anybody. I'm sure they probably went through the experiences that they went through. However, you're picking a time now when it's convenient to say something because you're going to get your attention at the same time because you know that everybody has a hate on for her. So why not throw your 2 cents in now?
And the British people, I don't want to sound anti-British, but
like you haven't already.
but I have. Fuck off, man. Great country, but fantastic. Flew over once. But it's just like the British people. They like again. It's this old colonialism mindset. They like this stuff. This is This is their. It's nostalgic for them because they're like, look how we used to treat or talk, like we are doing like I can't come to my point because I'm about to stutter, but it's just like they want to feel still important and stuff. Like they want to still, like, we still have an impact in the world even though we're on this small island, but the royalty is such a big deal, and if you talk shit about them, we will be British back to you. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you think it's like an overall British struggle for relevancy?
Exactly.
I don't know how I feel about that, mostly because like I don't care about that stuff. That's the thing. Is like I only care now.
The rest of the people,
right?
Like,
which is why I can't. Right. Which is why I can't argue with you. I can't have that argument because I never cared before anyways. Like, I only care now because this is the topic at hand, right? I was probably going to ignore this interview. And then when Raza was like, I want to talk about it, I was like, okay, I'll actually look for the interview and I'll actually watch it this time. So my opinion is purely outside. Like, I don't have any history with the royals. I'm not connected to that sort of like, I guess, genre of TV, because for a while it was TV entertainment that everybody talked about. So I'm not connected to it.
Like where I'm coming from, like, like, because like, again, like where I'm coming from, it's just like how what they did to my people, for example. Now, low-key, like Meghan, I'm reading somewhere that Meghan Markle she's like very small percentage Indian, very small. It doesn't even, it's just like Indian people want to feel like they're pushing back like decades later, and I love it. But they're like, and the British people ruined India. Now the Indians are ruining the royal family. I'm thinking, you may be right to a degree, but let's settle down. Right?
I know Indian people are your mortal enemy, but I don't know if like the whole billion of them are like thinking that way.
No, not all billion, but like they're, because like if you talk to a lot of Indian, a lot of Muslim people, a lot of like from my grandparents' generation, they will tell you, fuck the British, because of what they because of partition. But that generation specifically thought out F the British.
Yeah. I guess you're right. I guess the British did originally cause your whole fucking divide.
Yeah,
anyways.
That's why we hate the Indians, because of them and stuff.
Yeah, I guess I didn't consider that. You're right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we're getting real political here.
Well, yeah, I just think like there's so much in this. I don't like, because I don't know how much you guys want to continue talking about the actual interview itself, because there's so much that we haven't even touched yet.
I would like to steer away from the esoteric of the celebrity, but I would like to hear one or two more facts. I didn't get to the whole interview, so I'd like facts.
Okay, so let's move past Meghan, and let's just go to when Harry came into the interview.
Oh, I have nothing on Harry.
Okay.
My focal point.
Okay, well, that's where you're a bad boy. So when Harry came into the interview, so that's, for me, that's when the whole, like, the vibe of the interview changed for me, because it was no longer about like Meghan's mental health and her struggle, and it became more about like the actual like inner workings of the royal family. And so Harry's talking about how his grandmother had come out, and I'm sure you guys have seen this. I think it was either just before or just after when the interview was published. The Queen came out, and what she did is she completely removed them from the entire from the royal family. So what that means is she cut Harry off financially, and then she also stripped him of all of his titles, his God-given birthright titles, as well as all of his military titles and all of that stuff. She literally said, I'm taking all this stuff away. And now, with all due respect, when you're born into a family, that is your given right to hold that title. Who the fuck is she to withhold that from him because he wanted to go part-time royal? Okay. Right. Not only that, but he literally physically served in active combat. Like Harry went through it. He was the only royal that I know of that has actually put his balls on the line. Like he puts himself, he is out there and he's doing the things that he's supposed to do. Who are they to just be like, okay, you've done all this hard work. We're taking it all away now because you want to be married and live a peaceful life? No, we're taking your titles away.
But
you're
didn't
right on
Diana leave?
Sorry, go with your
So Di did leave him money, but basically he's like, if my mom didn't leave me money, I would have had nothing, right? Because it's basically like me going to one of you guys and saying, okay, everything you own is not yours anymore. Get the fuck out of here and start over. How are you going to do that? So he said in the interview,
Elon did it.
Bailey. But so he said in the interview, he was like, he genuinely believes that his mom knew this was going to happen to one of them, and that's why she left them the money, because she wanted him to have an escape plan. That's why she did it. And so another thing, because I just want to get this point out, like these 2 points out, because I know Bailey's going to cut me off because he doesn't want to talk about it anymore, which I get it.
No, it's not.
But
It's not that.
so that's one thing that like really upset me, because I do not believe that is fair. He put his ass on the line and he earned those titles.
I want to
They
support
shouldn't have been
it
removed.
because I want to support it because the military titles are fucked. Because you're
Mhm.
right, you can no matter what. Like
No.
you can do the petty in family royalty shit, but when you're talking
Like, whatever.
about like, democracy and equality for all, if you paid your dues, you paid your dues. It doesn't matter.
He earned them.
fucking your financial
he earned
status.
them,
Right. He earned them.
Sorry, I was
No, it's
backing
okay.
up, not stop.
No. And now I forgot the other thing I was gonna say. I forgot it.
Yeah, because like isn't it like
It'll come back to me.
military, the
Yeah.
government and everything is sort of like connected to the
Mhm.
royal family, even though the
You
royal
can't-
family
You
doesn't
can't. He had no. It's like, okay, so when it comes to military titles, you can take those things away from somebody, and the only time I've ever seen it being done is for pedophilia, which they don't even do that. There's still pedophiles that have their titles, and then they'll do it for any kind of like deflection, or I think the term is when they deflect from the military, or like when they go AWOL, then they will
Defection.
remove stuff like that from them. But it's like he's already well removed from that now. Like he's not there anymore. He's like out of it.
It's also Harry had a weird redemption arc, because like I remember like back in like the 2000s, there were photos of him wearing a Nazi costume at a Halloween party.
And
Yeah,
then
and
that's
then
like a-
of course,
There you go.
of course he apologized from it, and he actually turned a complete 180. He's like, what I was reading, people assumed he would turn out. People didn't think he would turn out the way he did because of his party lifestyle, but he's turning. The article said he's becoming more of a man than his brother.
Well, than his own father. Let's be
And his
real.
own
So,
father,
okay,
too.
so the other thing that I wanted to address before I forget, and then we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So Oprah makes a comment that really, I see why she made the comment, but I also think it was disrespectful. So Meghan talks about how like Harry made the ultimate decision because he, at the end of the day, they didn't keep Meghan in the loop. They were like, she's not the man. She doesn't make the decisions. Harry has to make them. So Meghan made the comment that like Harry saved her, in which Harry says, no, actually, I believe that Meghan saved me because I was trapped. And then Oprah goes, well, you lived a privileged life. You were a royal. You had all the things given to you. I'm not quoting it correctly. Obviously, go and look it up yourself. But she makes a comment. And she was like, what did you need to be saved from? And it's like, I understand why she thought it was okay to make that comment. But also she knows better. As being friends with some of the gross people in that family, she knows better. She knows that he was a very young boy when his mother died, and he didn't have any other options. He couldn't go and live with his mother's parents. He couldn't go and live with his mother's best friend. He didn't have those options. He had to stay in the institution with the family, and he had to be raised as a royal boy, and he was given responsibilities that young little boys do not have to have those responsibilities in the real world. So I felt her making that comment was just so vindictive. I felt like it was just a jab at him. And you could see how Harry was like, he couldn't, so because it was on the spot, I don't think Harry was prepared for it. He did not articulate himself well and argue against her as well as he could have. But the point is like, you have to understand, you're going to give Diana sympathy because she was 16 and dragged into that bullshit. And you're going to give other family members that are in that family, you're going to give them sympathy because they were dragged into it. But remember, he was born into it. And he has a sense of obligation to his grandmother for raising him because he doesn't know any better. So obviously he was trapped within the institution.
Yeah, and it's just to echo your point earlier to say like he doesn't know any.
No.
It's just like you're born into a royal family, but that doesn't mean you can just be a different type of person. You still deal with the issues that we normally deal with, but like just because you're born into privilege doesn't mean you can get the freedom that I think I just came on in a fucking amazing point. I think we are lucky because we are more as this where we are this lower middle whatever. I believe we have the freedoms that they can't afford, like privacy, able to do whatever we want without our royal grandma telling us not to and stuff. But like I feel like we have much more of a control of our own lives and our own stuff as opposed to
absolutely
the royal, just based on the fact that we're not superstars.
Exactly. Because the reality is, at 16 years old or 18 or 21, do you think those boys ever had the option? Do you think they were ever asked, hey, okay, now you're an adult, you've done all your royal duties up until now as an adult, do you want to continue doing this or do you want to live your own life? That option was never given to them.
Yeah,
well, that's
as much as you'd like to think it was.
That's arguably why Bucko joined the military, right?
Correct, because he wanted freedom and he needed to form his own opinions. And the reality is like, do we know Harry like as a person? No. But the reality is he's shown in his actions that he genuinely wanted to know what it was like to not be a royal person. Because what royal who has had no obligation to go into the military goes into the military? He did that to get the fuck away from his family, to have a little bit of peace and freedom, right? Earn his own titles, earn his own respect and his own keep in the world. That's why he did that, because he has his own morality and his own compass to follow.
Didn't his brother also do the military?
I don't think so. I don't. But again, I don't know because I don't really care.
One of their brothers did, but the thing was, I think one of the other brothers served in the military, but he was like active duty. He was on.
Yeah, Harry was active.
I know. Harry actually went to.
I think that was the
like
difference.
actually,
He was enlisted, but wasn't in an active duty role.
Okay.
So the thing, like this whole rant and this whole agreement about the interview as a whole, like to tie together all three of our points, kinda. The part that disgusts me and creeps me out about this is the media machine behind both of the parties involved in this interview. Like you said, Oprah made that comment saying that it's like it's a little disgusting because she knows the context. And they know that Meghan is not gonna say that line. Like even if she does say it willy-nilly, it's not making it to production unless they okay it. Right? So the part that confuses me about this is like the consensual involvement of the parties, right? Everyone's trying to frame it as, oh, here's this interview that innocently happened where an innocent question was asked and something was innocently answered. But no, it was very strategically put together.
She knew that.
Do Meghan and Harry, or Oprah for that matter, deserve any sort of like critique for being guilty for generating negativity around the situation?
Because it stirs up the conversation in a certain way that it doesn't need to go. Like rather than talking about the issue, now we're talking about some other stupid shit that doesn't need to be talked.
Right. Well, I think what you need to understand when it comes to an interview process like that, especially with someone like Oprah, do not for 1 second think that her questions were given to Meghan and Harry ahead of time. You know better. They had no idea what she was going to do and what kind of message she was going to try and peddle out of them. Now, there was probably some agreement on, I would like to touch on this topic or that topic, but that question was calculated. She thought about it. She timed it. And to be honest, I don't think it was a question until she was sure that Harry was going to be on, because Harry wasn't planning on being a part of that interview. And then ultimately so there was talks about it that he wasn't going to be on the interview. And then I guess Meghan had finally talked into him. And I think it was ultimately decided that he was going to participate. And that's why he only came in for the last half or like a smaller portion of it, is because what people don't understand is regardless of how he feels about his family, he has an obligation to those people. He has to give respect to his grandmother, and he does respect his grandmother. And so he didn't want to be put in a position to say negative things about them.
Yeah. So
which is why I don't think he responded fair. I don't think he got a fair enough. I don't think he needed time to think about that question, to be honest.
So
I didn't think it was fair.
Like you did your research, right? So how long ahead of time was this planned?
So apparently, Oprah had asked Meghan to do an interview with her when they got married. And Meghan was told she was not allowed to accept anything without it going through the institution first. And then after...
I'm sorry, because when I bring up like the media points and both their consensual points, it does kind of throw me off that all of a sudden, he just appeared, when it's like the changing political times have more acceptable for her to have her supportive white husband beside her, because 2 years ago when this was starting, it was peak Me Too movement, and you would have wanted just the woman on camera on presence. So it creeps me out that it's possibly more of like a public relations scenario, that he just showed up.
So it's not that he just showed up. That's not what it is, Bailey. It's not like he was just like, oh, I'm here today, I'm going to be a part of this. That's not what it was.
So then
initially,
why is it not fair to him? Why is it not
because
fair
initially,
to him that he got asked a question?
It's not that he got asked the question. It's that, like, okay, it's unfair. It's unfair that the question was asked, because I think
this is wine mama. Like, why am I talking?
Because I'm trying not to, like, I don't want to be grumpy right now. But the thing is, like, no, but the reality is, Bailey, like, regardless of what you think about the dynamics or whatever like that, you have to, as a human being, see where that question was inappropriate. And, like, for her to put him, because what she just did is she made it about race. Because instead, but listen, Bailey, instead of seeing it as
said,
his,
okay, you can publish that.
All right,
is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is he stepped in and he said, okay, you can put that on air.
He doesn't have a choice.
No, he does. He has every.
He doesn't get to. No, he does not.
Company.
No, absolutely not.
Get an interview with that person without signing a document that they get to say yes to every single edit you publish. It's
okay. Do you genuinely believe that that's how 100%. Media people work? How many interviews have come out?
Yes.
Okay.
At that level, yes. You do not hold any sort of interview without them controlling exactly what's finished product.
Okay.
Are there let's just put the water on.
But my whole thing is that we don't actually know. You don't actually know as far as it goes. You don't know what agreement that they actually came to. And if you had watched him respond to that question, you would see where he did not expect that question, because he was very quiet and stumbled and then made a response, and you could tell that he was a little bit frazzled from the question being asked.
He wasn't I have to take wine mom's side on this one.
Well, and your point about them not approving it.
I'm just saying,
you think that he approved that?
Yes, but he would have had to say yes, that's okay to put on it.
I don't believe he was given that option.
No, because like when he answered that question, he was just like, oh shit, he was like thrown off guard, because again, this question wasn't given him ahead of time, and she sort of like threw it in. It was a typical.
I think. Okay, what I think
Charles has taught us. Gotcha question. Remember that? Remember those questions that Charles freaking taught us? Yeah. Remember them, bro?
Okay, but what I think you're trying to say, Bailey, is that at some point in time, after the question was asked and answered, he was given the opportunity to approve it to be released. That's what you're trying to say.
When that video was edited, they sent the video to Meghan's team, and Meghan and their assistant and their PR team have to say, yes, you can air this.
Right, which that I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is I do not believe that they were given that option, because Oprah had said, based on the agreement, because they said that, because they have to say, oh, I'm not being paid for this interview. We all know that that's not the truth. Obviously, Oprah dug in her pockets to pay for this, but the reality is I think what I think Oprah, when she said there's no question off the table, I think she genuinely meant that. And I think there was probably some form of agreement, because I don't think Oprah knew she was going to ask that question in the context that she asked it. I think she thought about it beforehand and she didn't know when to ask or how to ask it. And I think just because of the way that the conversation was naturally flowing, she was just able to go, wait, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You needed to be saved. You were trapped in that family. I think it was just like Oprah was a little bit pissed that he said that, and she was like, well, explain. And then he was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I lived a privileged life, but you don't understand what it's like to be trapped. And like, you have to see that part of the interview, Bailey, to understand like why me and Raza are saying what we're saying. Because if you saw the reaction, I don't know how it got in the interview. I wasn't there to approve it or disapprove it, but I don't think it was fair ultimately to be put in.
That's fair.
On top of this, we also saw one version of the interview. Like I'm reading that.
She cut out hundreds of minutes.
There's several many more unaired questions. So I think she said, hey, what questions do you want? And I feel like that the discussion that we're talking about wasn't in his head. He didn't think it's a hot take, so he just well,
I also don't think that they cared about that question the way that I care about it. That's the difference. Right? That question to me, I felt was unfair, and I could tell by his genuine reaction that he genuinely looked uncomfortable. His jaw instantly clenched, and I could see in his face, he was like, how do I respond to this? She's asking me I'm this white privileged prince, and I gotta answer this fucking question about why I'm saved from my own family. You could see that in his face.
From a black lady, by the way. So
right.
Imagine if you said something I don't want to
Oprah.
And he just rebuilt, as Raza was saying, he rebuilt his reputation based on that Nazi stuff he was just talking about. Don't think that Harry's stupid. He's not stupid. He knows what he has to, he knows how he has to respond to those things. But to be caught off guard like that, I just they didn't have to include that the way that they included it. They didn't have to show his reaction to her question like that.
I think they just included it for that reason you just said. I think they left it in just to show that
it's the reaction.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what he said, because I even saw that as you said his jaw clenched up, and I for a second I thought he was going to get out of his chair and deck fucking up.
I thought he was going to leave. I was he's going to walk out of this conversation. That was the only time I've ever seen him show a very visible emotional reaction in his face. I've watched lots of interviews and stuff and seen him on things. I've never seen him use emotion in his face that way. You could tell that he was genuinely fuck. What?
Blind Mom says Oprah knows what she's doing. She spent
She's very calculated. That woman is very calculated.
Since the 80s or earlier, doing this to her. You go to her. She makes you, and if your interview fucking bombs, your career is done, right? So being in the face of somebody like that and being on eggshells, I understood our Harry as a person of color.
I mean, ultimately, the reality is I completely understand what your point is, Bailey. You make 100% sense. Of course, that interview had to go through. Okay, Raza. Of course, that interview had to go through some team at some point, and they had to say, "Yeah, okay, air it." But I I'm saying, I don't think they cared about that question in the same way that I do, or that Raza may care about it. Because, and I think Bailey, if you watched that part of the interview, I think you would have had the same reaction. Because I was I literally went, ooh, how is he going to answer this question? And I had to catch myself.
And that's a very fair conclusion. I'm not debating that that you took it differently.
Yeah, Bailey, you're not debating.
You are valid in your feelings, Lily, and so are you, Raza.
I don't want to I don't want to discredit Bailey, because he does have a point. Somebody watched that interview and said, okay, air it. That is a valid point. but I just don't believe that it was cared about the same way,
Yeah.
or like it was recognized that it probably shouldn't have been included. But at the end of the day, like, who's gonna tell Oprah no?
I feel like
That's
Meghan may have name dropped a couple members, and they kind of cut those ones out just to
Oh, for sure.
protect.
Mhm. Absolutely.
That.
Well, because she could lose her life for that
Yeah.
interview.
And like it's
a big deal.
that's the
I
how much do you think she's aware of Princess Diana's? Like, how much do you think she's going like, I'm gonna get got if I say the
Right.
wrong thing here?
Right.
and like didn't she talked about like taking her own life, which is like Megan, by the way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That at that and then like not like her mental health and stuff, and not having anybody to talk to stuff, because the HR people or the people at the firm would just shut like
She wasn't a paid employee, so they didn't want to help her.
Yeah, exactly. Quick question. So a part-time employee at the they were once a full-time, and now they wanted to be part-time. What's the duties of a full-time and a part-time male member?
The same thing.
Oh,
It's the same thing. It's
the
just
same
the
thing, but
amount of
slightly toned down.
engagements. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something like
okay.
a little bit less. Like,
Cuts
they
in
only
half.
have to go to like galas and balls and stuff rather than like all the little Make-A-Wish shit.
Well, no,
Oh.
so here's the thing. Megan said, she was like, yes, I want a part-time, but I still want to be involved in all of the events that I was currently involved in. I think ultimately what she wanted was to just be removed from the castle, because she was
Yeah.
forced to live in a cottage on castle property. Like, that's the thing that I don't think people understand. She wanted her space away from that group of people, because she wasn't happy and she felt trapped, and she didn't have freedom, and she could, like, at one point in time she asked if she could go out to dinner with her girlfriends, and they were like, no, you're oversaturated, there's too much of you in the media, you can't go anywhere, you have to stay home, we don't want any more videos or photos or articles of you, like, you cannot go anywhere. And she's like, okay.
I'm not
I guess
denying.
I'm leaving
this
now.
This is just a curious brain question. It's not like
Yeah.
a denying. I'm not questioning where did you get this? Is this like YouTubers
From her.
or is this interviews? I'm just curious.
From-
I'm not questioning.
No, from her in the interview.
Okay.
She said that,
That's
yeah.
really-
She
talked that much
specifically
about
said
it. I'm surprised by that though. That's why I asked. I'm surprised.
Well, it's like I have like 4 pages of notes here. There was so much in that interview that, like, we didn't even, like, we're not going to be able to talk about it all. The reality is like we're going to have to switch topics, because it's just we'll be here forever.
The quote that she said, she was like, she didn't like, how's it go? Like she didn't stay silent, but she was silent. Or
She
was silent.
specifically, yes, she specifically said that she's always advocated for female voices to be heard, but here she was being silenced, and then Oprah being silent, and Oprah said, "Were you silent or silenced?" And she said the latter.
Yeah.
Her exact response was the latter.
The latter, yeah, 100%. I remember that part. But yeah, it's crazy how like this, like how a marriage with how you and I see it as normal is like an anomaly.
It's a life contract. She's signing over her life to an institution.
Yeah,
that's what that marriage is.
Weird. It's so weird, man.
And in order to be with somebody you love, because there is genuine love between those two people, like you can just see it in the way that they carry themselves together and like their energy together. And a lot of people in these like body analysis videos want to say that Meghan was controlling him with her body by touching him certain ways, but it's like he reached for her majority, but he reached for her majority of the interview. He was grabbing her hand, grabbing her legs, trying to hold on to her because he was uncomfortable and was panicking because this is not something he's ever had to do.
He's panicking, and again, it's Oprah and his biracial
grandmother
partner. Like it's that shit's he's very aware of the situation he's in. He's very aware he is the white man there. Of course he's gonna be a little standoffish and seem like he's being controlled, because if he cares for her at all, he's gonna be a little submissive, because that's
give her voice.
sit down and shut up. Like.
And, Harry for whatever reason to not like him, this whole like kerfuffle, he's actually staying true. He's still on a certain, like, still on the consistent path and stuff. Not break, like, you don't see him freaking out on social media. He doesn't have social
Well, it's
media.
like, think
Yeah.
about. Sorry, go ahead.
He's at like that interview. He was able to put himself together and not break down, which I would have, honestly. Bailey
Oh
would
yeah.
have.
Well, think about Stockholm syndrome, right? When you're in a situation, it's the only situation you know. And then when you get out of the situation, there is a sense of panic because where there's normally a ground underneath you, it's not there anymore. No matter how shitty of a ground that was, it was still something that you relied on for your balance. And once that's removed, and now he's having to start all over. This is what people don't understand. He's not being paid by the royal family anymore. There is no money from those people coming in. And so now this is his opportunity to say, look, I'm not associated like you think I am. I'm not this horrible person. I support my wife. I care about her and I want to live life. And like, he even talks about how, because Oprah asks him, like, what's your favorite part about parenthood for you two? And he's like, we go to the beach every day and I get to take Archie on the back of my bicycle. And he's like, I never did any of that stuff as a kid. Because remember, as a kid, his mother was dead and his father was in engagements. So he didn't get to have a traditional childhood. And so it's like he's becoming an adult all over again. He's like relearning life because this is freedoms he's never been afforded. Could you imagine looking back at your childhood and thinking like, oh yeah, I never like did those things with my mom or my father? Like what?
And my dad is exactly like that, and that's why I'm like low key like trying to turn him, because like he's like, I never
had those experiences.
Shit, so he's like, I want you to have these experiences.
And that's why Harry's he's literally giving up his whole identity to move forward for his children, like because they're expecting another baby. So he's literally doing whatever he can to protect his family by giving up all those things. And that's quite frankly, that's what you're supposed to do as a parent. You're supposed to sacrifice so that your children can succeed in places where you were not able to. And that's what he's doing.
And the reason why they have to take these, and I sound like a simping for a billionaire, but the reason why they have to take these streaming deals is because it pays them a lot of money, right? And like this documentary that's coming on Netflix, I think this year or next year, is apparently more money than the family was paying. I think.
Well, it's like, why shouldn't they benefit off their own story, though? People who are like, oh, they shouldn't be allowed to do... Why not? We allow serial killers and other celebrities to benefit off their shitty fucking stories. Why can't they benefit off their own story?
Yeah, and then I like...
Oh, sorry, no, I was just going to say, numbers-wise, part-time hours, they're making like $500K a year or something like that. So it's still an absurd amount of money. But yes, you can make a documentary and make more money than getting paid. Sorry.
And also... royalties too, because how many times?
Well, and they have to afford security and stuff like that too, because also you forget the royal family completely removed. Literally, as COVID was starting, they doxed where they were living in Canada and then removed their entire security team and said, well, good luck. And then Tyler Perry stepped in and was like, I'll give you my home and my entire team. You can come and stay at my place. We'll give you all your privacy and space so you guys can get on your feet in California. Like, it was Tyler Perry who had to come and step in and like say, we'll pay for this, because they had no money. Whatever little bit of money they had, like they were just kind of like, good luck.
Watch
Tyler Perry, the black entrepreneur of the century. Go.
Hold up. Watch Tyler Perry
Tyler
make
Perry
a
is a
movie
character
on this. Like I can already think of that. Aunt Medea taking on the royals. It's gonna be him and his aunt. A Medea thing, and it being He can be a B&B. He can do and you call him up.
Well, but here's the thing. But here's the thing about Tyler Perry. You know, that was not in the news at all. I did not know that. Nobody else knew that. I had no idea until I watched the interview.
I heard that because of fucking Charlemagne.
And he could have been out there swinging his dick like, oh, look at me taking care of the royal family, and he didn't do that.
He will in his next.
Well, but now Meghan's already given him the notoriety, right? It's already been put out there, so now he's going to capitalize off it. But I have to give him his props for not.
I think that's the way we'll put a pin in Tyler Perry for another topic, but it's because personally, I think he won't capitalize the way Raza is thinking because he's not trying to be that. You read up on his film studio a lot. You read up on who he's trying to be now. He wants to get ingratiated with the Bill Gates. He wants to get ingratiated with like the royal. He's not trying to fucking make another Medea no more. He's trying to go like, no, Meghan Markle likes me. Like, I'm a fucking big man's.
I mean, but he still pulled up when nobody else did. That's the point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He offered that to them when everybody else was like, good luck.
And I ain't denying that. I'm just saying I don't think he's going to use it to make another movie. And I agree. Tyler Perry's got a fucked up past, but what he's doing now is inspiring. I digress.
Yeah.
Sorry. I do like how the American conservatives and Canadian conservatives are like shitting themselves because for some reason I did not know how much conservatives are having a very strong umbilical cord to the wealth. So like I'm reading like Ben Shapiro stuff, a lot of our conservatives here, and like Meghan Markle is a woke princess, and I'm thinking, why are you defending the wealth? It's like Ben Shapiro, biggest example. Like your country had a revolution against them, and now you are defending yourself. So it's just so funny how people here and in America are like, don't you make fun of the royal family, as they're like without remembering what they did to them.
Yeah, they're supposed to be hardcore capitalists. They're like, fuck yeah, capitalism. And meanwhile, they're telling the dirty commies to get away from them, but they want to jerk off the queen.
Yeah, like, I feel like the conservatives low-key want the monarchy back.
Well, I think they're just trying to, I guess, make their own stance wherever they feel like it's the time.
Yeah. It's always with the authority. That's I
mean, like, no, I was just gonna say, like, they're like, you know, I'm just getting to the point now where it's like I feel like we've talked about it so much now, and like, not that I want to stop you guys.
It's a royalty podcast today, so keep rocking. It's a royalty podcast. It's already been an hour and a half.
Yeah.
The Grammys were yesterday. Let's talk about how
we'll do that in the chat section. We'll chat about Beyonce in the chat section. Well, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it that way. Tie a knot, Lily, and then I'll conclude afterwards.
No. I'm just saying, like, the reality is like, regardless, you know, to genuinely form an opinion, I think people need to watch the interview, see if they can watch the interview, or get a good in-depth analysis of it in order to form an opinion. And, you know, like, I want to apologize to you guys because I was so aggressive about this topic, and I don't like to be that way normally when I'm talking about things.
But
ever
apologize.
But what I'm saying is, like, this topic for me, because it's about a woman, it's very hard for me to be able to, like, see it in any other light than, like, as a woman. And so I think ultimately, as a society, we kind of have a responsibility to Meghan to, like, make it right, regardless of how you feel about her, regardless of whether you think she's a genuine person or not. Like, as a society, we have a responsibility to stop treating women like that in the media, because it's just, this whole thing spiraled all because she was mixed. And I mean, she's barely mixed. Like, it's all about this idea of blackness, and it's created a big downfall, and it's like all the progression for women. When big things like this happen, I feel like all the progression we've made for women and all these powerful Black women in media, like if we're going to talk about the Grammys next, all those powerful Black women that were winning awards today, it's like all of that stuff gets discredited when, as a society, we choose to shit on one woman because of everything in the royal family. It's 100%.
They just and double that being a woman of color in the royal family. Just like, could you imagine?
Exactly.
Like the local papers. Could you imagine what they were saying at the local level?
Exactly.
I mean, we don't even know the dirt of that.
Yes.
So like it's just.
It's like, it's like I said to my girlfriend the other night, we had a little bit of a talk about it, and I just said to her, like, in conclusion of all of this, at the grand scheme, at the end, once you've talked about it and you've addressed it all, I am wholeheartedly happy to be fully and completely removed from that dynamic, and I'm glad that is not my life. I sympathize and I feel for them, and I can form an opinion, but the reality is I am very happy not to live that life and to be removed from it.
We are actually very blessed.
Very.
I was even thinking of Bailey's issues, right? Like Bailey for some reason I was thinking of Bailey. I was talking to him, I was like, how can I shit on him?
Shit on Bailey hour.
But like,
what's new? What's new?
What's new?
Like his issues, for example, like are much more like I feel like they are much more manageable and much more like easier to put out than Meghan and other people are facing.
Exactly.
We don't have billions of eyes on us, not yet at least, but we don't have the world looking at us. We can do all of this shit and just not worry about you got an image to uphold, you have everything. And I wrote a note here that I didn't say earlier, is that the media and the royal family need each other. So like if they have an image if they have an image to uphold, the media is gonna help out with that. And like the more attention goes on the media, therefore more attention goes back on.
Yeah, I just genuinely hope that Meghan and Harry find whatever little bit of peace that they can, however minuscule it is. I hope that they find it, because if it was me in their shoes, I would have gotten out a heck of a lot sooner. Yeah.
Final thoughts on we're ending the podcast now because I said so.
Yes, thoughts.
Wow.
Final thoughts about this royal family.
Well, I thought it brought it all around well. I enjoyed the combination of the thoughts here, right? So I liked the media machine that Raza brought up. So I feel that these people are put under an unnecessary pressure by, like, quote unquote, the institution and the machine that runs them. However, I do empathize for Harry specifically, because this man was born into it and had absolutely no say into his conditions. But I think, like, ultimately, personally, as I was grumpy before, I think we should also consider that it's a press thing on their side as well. I do have a lot of empathy for Meghan and Harry, but Meghan and Harry are also aware of what they're doing. Just to play that side.
It's all about the green at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, they did ultimately open themselves up to those possible criticisms. It just, for me, it just felt like there was so much more that could have been talked about. I don't know why it had to go there. You have an hour and a half, and that's where you go.
It's complete. It's like, as I said earlier, it's that gotcha question. She wanted to have that sound clip that she can all the news
in every interview ever.
She can, or all the news stations can play and be like, this is what Harry said, cancel. My takeaway is less nuanced than both of yours, because simply just get rid of the royal family. not sure why we're dancing around that. Let's get rid of that.
Yeah.
Fucking, let's eat the rich.
Eat the rich. Ironic.
Yeah.
This is not ironic, Bailey.
Yeah. Also, this frappuccino.
So
Yo, are you drinking wine, by the way?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Oh.
That makes
Why?
a lot of sense.
What makes a lot of sense? Yo, get out of here. Alright, yeah. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. Same shit, different day. We're about to head over to our Just Chat section. If you're watching this on YouTube, stream live Mondays 7 p.m. We stream Fridays video games on our Twitch at 9 p.m. Tune in later. Raza, you can find him on Instagram at
_r.r_malik_. I need to change that.
I keep telling you every time. And Bailey at
Link in
Gnarly
description.
Media. Link in
Link in
description.
description,
And you
Yeah.
tell Wine Mom when they feel like revealing their identity, you'll get a link one day.
Yes.
Thank
One
you,
day.
famo.
Wine Mom is like
Moving
our Batman. She like yeah, she has an altar.
on.